Okay, I've got my Arrows Pioneer out here with its new prop, its new power system. It has a new receiver and gyro in it as well. So it's everything is all the electronics in this plane were replaced except for the servos. It has the stock servos, and that is it. So if you've been following the Facebook page, you know I've been um, modifying this power system in it so that it has more power. I demonstrated in the last flight session with this that with the stock power system, even with the larger prop, that provides more power. All it was able to do was just hover. It would not pull vertical at all with the stock power system. So I've got the BetaFPV 1805 1550 kV motor installed in it. I've got one of my crossover RX receiver gyros that has I think it's a SX or S3X gyro in it. It's a 3-axis gyro, so it provides a good wind mitigation. I've got the gem fan slow fly 7x3/8 prop on it, and in order to do that, I've got one of those E-flite prop adapters on this one. So right now I've left the cowling off of it, the nose cowling. I'm going to have to modify that before I put it back on, and I wanted to make sure that I've got the motor angle correct before I modify that cowling and put it back on. Or I may decide to leave it off. I haven't decided yet. But anyway, I just wanted to demonstrate during this flight and see how much more power it's got. It should have a significant amount of additional power. It should be able to pull vertical pretty good. According to my numbers on the bench, it's not going to have unlimited vertical, but it should be able to pull vertical fairly well. It's a pretty breezy and gusty out here today, so I'm not going to be able to do much in the way of tuning this plane and trimming it out, but I at least want to put it in the air and see what kind of power it has. Crank up my transmitter here. Alright. Links to everything will be in the show notes, guys. The links to the prop, the motor, using the stock battery. But links to the prop, the prop adapter, the motor, the receiver, everything that I used in this project will be in the show notes. Let me check my CG here and make sure I'm close, because it is a heavier motor. I think that's going to work. Alright, well, let's get over here and launch it and see what we have. What I was really wanting to do was just get more power for this airframe. Once I can get out here in calmer conditions and get everything trimmed out and have it handling exactly the way I want, I'll do another test with that 808 Keychain cam and see how well it can carry it now. Alright, into the wind, launching. See if we can keep it out of the sun. Trying to swat a fly away from my face there. Alright, let's bring it back through here, and I'm going to have to angle it away from the wind a little bit to keep it out of the sun, because the wind is coming directly out of the sun. But I just want to see what kind of power it has. Alright, going vertical. Oh, look at that, guys. That is pulling vertical now. That is pretty slick. I knew it was going to have a tremendous amount of additional power now compared to when it was stock. But I didn't realize it was actually going to be able to pull vertical pretty well. And like I've got the stock battery in it, and look at that, it is pulling vertical. That is awesome. Now I've got a micro bush plane. It doesn't have unlimited vertical, but it has nearly that. According to my numbers on the bench, it should have about a 1.7 to 1 thrust to weight ratio. So that is going to make this thing even funner to fly, as fun as it is to fly stock. And it's an absolute blast. I don't have any, I don't have any complaints about this plane with it stock. Because it is marketed as a beginner plane, and I think it is an absolutely fantastic beginner plane. The one thing that I did when it was stock that I modified was the linkage on the ailerons, so that I have a good roll rate on the ailerons, and I did get that. It had a very, very good roll rate with the ailerons, even stock. But it was kind of lackluster power for, doing aerobatics and stuff with. But now, that is not going to be a problem. Can you see that? I had to pull it back down because it was drifting toward the sun there. But it would have kept going. It would have kept going. That is pulling vertical just awesome. And it doesn't seem to have hurt the slow flight capability. I think that with this new power system, the new receiver, which has a built-in 2S 7-amp ESC, as well as a 3-axis gyro, this crossover RX receiver, it's about 12 grams heavier than it was stock. It's got a heavier motor. The 1805 motor is quite a bit heavier than the stock motor, and after I pulled the stock motor out of it, I thought maybe it was it looked like a 1306. They marketed that as a 1608, but they measured the outside of the bell. They cheated on that, on the motor specs, rather than measuring the diameter of the stator and the height of the magnets. They have taken their measurements from the bell housing of the motor. So I thought, when I looked at it, I tried to measure it with my little slide caliper, and it looked like maybe it was around a 1305, 1306 motor. And then I pulled out one of my 1306 motors and compared it, and I think that this stock motor might actually be a 1205 to 1206 motor, not a 1608. Because if it was an actual 1608 motor, I would not have had to change the power system out. It definitely, a 1608 2000 kV motor would definitely have had enough torque to spin this prop. 1608 should have just about as much torque as this 1805 motor that I have in it now, but it was nowhere close to a 1608 motor. So I just want to make you guys aware of that. Alright, we're almost at the end of our flight. I set the timer for 5 minutes. Pull vertical again and see. And I'm almost at the end of my flight, guys, and it is still pulling vertical. I almost lost sight of it there. It was right over the top of me. But it is still pulling vertical. I'm getting my haptic right now, which means I've had it in the air for about 44 minutes and 40 seconds, and there goes my timer. Alright, so I've had it in the air for 5 minutes now. Okay, so let me check, make sure nobody's coming. I'll bring it through here in a bit of a crosswind and see if we can land it, but I am very, very happy. I am very, very happy with the power on this little plane now. That is absolutely fantastic. Alright, so I pulled vertical with it several times, full throttle. I wasn't real easy in the throttle. I was pushing against the wind. Half of the time I had it in the air. I've got had a pretty stiff headwind that I launched it into. It doesn't, the additional weight of about 12 grams doesn't really seem to have hurt its slow flight capability all that much. Of course, it's got a much bigger prop, so it's pushing a lot more air over the wing than that stock motor and prop, which is probably why it still seems to have just about as good slow flight capability. I just want to pull the battery out of it now and see. I know how many amps it was pulling on the bench, but you never know when you put it in flight and you got additional drag. You never know. So I had it in the air for, let me see here, Looks like 5 minutes and 19 seconds before I got it on the ground. 5 minutes and 19 seconds, and I'll try to hold this up here where you can see it. Ready? 3.83. 3.83. So, yeah, leaving 3.6 volts. Leaving 3.6 volts in the cells. It looks like I am still going to be able to get, I don't know what, about close to 8-minute flight out of it, because I had over 3.8 volts still in the cells, and I went full throttle I went full throttle a few times and held it at full throttle for quite a few seconds before I rolled it over and pulled it through. So yeah, so it's got all that power now, and it looks like I'm still going to be able to get 8-minute flights out of it, flying it the way I fly it, and still have 3.6 volts per cell. So I would say that's a huge success. I don't know yet if the motor thrust angle is where it needs to be. I'm going to have calmer conditions to bring it back out in and see if I can get it trimmed and everything, and make sure that the motor angle is correct on it. So anyway, that's a wrap on this flight session. I'm very happy with the results. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the air.